Hey guys, I just found an old journal in an abandoned house in my neighborhood that we just purchased. It is in surprisingly good shape and written in Italian, part 1. So, I'm new to this subreddit, but I recently found an old journal in an old home. The house has been abandoned for nearly 75 years and is falling apart. The land is great, so I recently purchased the house. We're going to demolish it and divide up the land to build an extension to the neighborhood with a few new homes and a second entrance. Originally, it was the only home on the land, and it was built in the late 1880s. The neighborhood was built around the house only a few years ago. I was told that the owners of the home sold a lot of the land to build the neighborhood, but kept the sizable portion which the house now sits on. Just to be clear, the owners didn't live in the house, they just held the property. But that's enough of the backstory. I know that you didn't come to r/found journals to hear about how we purchased a house. The journal was in the attic of the house, which was a nightmare to get to, and I will not be doing that again. It and several other books were up there, all of them in Italian, which I only found out after Googling some of the words. The books weren't anything too interesting, just some old Italian novels. I don't speak Italian, by the way, especially not 19th century Italian, so I'm going to be translating this through Google with some educated guesswork. I'll also be posting some of the pictures of the journal later, so you guys may be able to do a better job at translating than me. I will be abridging the journal entries as some are not too interesting. I'll also be changing everyone's name for their privacy. The author of the journal we will call William D. Romano. The journal starts in 1902. Apparently, William's son Jack had recently left to work in a factory in southern West Virginia. William was extremely proud that Jack managed to get such a good, well-paying job. You see, William and his wife were first-generation immigrants. While their son was born in the United States, they were worried about his future. So this was like a dream come true for them. Their son would finally be able to live the American dream. The only problem was this was several states away, so they were reasonably worried that they wouldn't hear from him. Jack assured them that he would send letters back home every chance he got. William was more open to letting his son go than his wife, but after several days he managed to convince her and let her know that this was for the best. His son packed, and after a few days he departed to start a new life and to make his family proud. William and his wife, that I will name Linda, it's just the first name that came to mind, they were sad that their son would go, but ultimately understood that this was a good thing for his future. After a few days, they got their first letter from Jack. William described getting the letter like a great sigh of relief in the house. He acted like everything was okay and would console his wife, who was of course worried that their son would go so far from home, but he was secretly just as worried. The letter was assurance that yes, this was the right choice. Jack said in the letter that he made it to town the night before and checked into a hotel not too far from the factory. He had already made a friend named Paul who was also starting at the factory with him, and they happened to meet on the train. They could tell that their son was excited about the town. It was much bigger than back home, and he wanted to explore after his first day at work. He promised he would write another letter after he got back home to tell them about the factory and the town. The next day they got the second letter, and Jack was even more excited in this letter than in the first one. As it turned out, there were apartments the factory owned that all the workers lived in for free. This was amazing news for Jack, as it meant he would be able to save even more money since he wouldn't have to pay for a place to live. Jack and his friend Paul would be roommates in the apartment along with several other workers from the factory. They went around town after work and he met a girl who he was interested in, and she seemed to be interested in him as well. Getting this letter completely dispelled all of William and Linda's fears, as it seemed everything was falling into place for Jack, and as parents, they couldn't be prouder. William's journal then takes a turn from his son back onto what's going on at home. I don't think I mentioned it earlier because I really wanted to set the scene with Jack before diving into it. William and Linda both had jobs, though Linda only worked on the weekends as a nanny. William was a farmhand for the local plantations, and took odd jobs out of season. The two were planning to send Jack more money to assist with securing an apartment and furnishing it. However, with Jack no longer needing the money, they were just going to send him enough to last him to his first paycheck. After that, Linda was going to leave her job as William could take care of both of them on his own. For the next few entries, it's actually pretty short. William had a couple of his buddies and they planned a 5-day hunting trip, and he didn't take his journal, so I guess he forgot it or he had a separate hunting log or something. When he does get back, he writes about his share of the game that they caught, which was 2 ducks and 2 wild boars. He seemed really excited about the success of the trip, but wrote some concern about not getting another letter from Jack yet. He and Linda concluded that he must be busy settling into his new life. The next few entries are about an upcoming wedding between one of Linda's friends and a man that just moved into town a few months back. The news was apparently a surprise, as not many people knew that they were even romantically involved, including Linda herself. There was apparently a scandal around the relationship, as the man had already gained a reputation as being a womanizer. William also did not like the man because he came on to Linda once in the past, though backed off when he found out that she was married and was confronted about it. Needless to say, William was against going to the wedding and forbade Linda from attending, as he didn't want to show any support for their relationship. This, of course, led to a big fight between the two, which led William to storm out of the house. The next entry is actually a few days later, which William describes the house as quiet. Linda is still mad and not talking to him. The thing that breaks the silence in the house is a letter they got from Jack, which is actually in the journal. And honestly, I'm still trying to make heads and tails of it. Apparently, if the translation I came up with is right, this is what Jack said in his letter.
Hello, I apologize that I haven't written to you all in the past few weeks. Things have taken a turn and I don't know what's going on. Paul, Romano, and Julian have all vanished a few days ago. The rooms are empty like they were never here, and no one talks about it either. I guess they quit. A lot of people have been disappearing recently. Everyone I worked with today were all new. The only people I even recognized was the owner and his son, which he comes to the factory every other week. Rebecca, the girl I wrote to you about in my last note, has been acting strange too. She won't talk about anyone that disappeared. I think I'm going to come back home. I guess this is normal in the city for people to just leave, but it doesn't feel right. I think I'm going to quit soon too. Sorry for disappointing both of you.
That's all I've translated so far, but I am going to be posting the pages of the notebook here as well. So if you know Italian and can help me translate, please let me know. And I don't mean people who are just going to put it in Google Translate. I already tried. There's a lot of shorthand in this journal, so it doesn't work. As soon as I translate more, I'll post it here. Hello guys, thanks for watching all the way to the end of the video. If you did like the video, please be sure to like and subscribe. If you didn't like the video, be sure to like and subscribe, tell your friends and family about it, then come back next week to see if I do any better. This is an original SCP story in the I Survived category, I guess, although it doesn't have anything to do with the other I Survived series. If you want to know more about that, then watch my other videos. So, I do like SCP, as you can tell, and I wanted to do something unique with the concepts. So if you're also a horror or thriller writer and you want me to read some of your SCP stories, you can always follow me on my socials. My only thing is it has to be an original story, of course, and a certain length, but other than that, I'm more than happy to read them. If I really like your story, I'll read it on the channel one day. Of course, I'll give you all the credit for it. So, yeah, anyways, I'm out.